Support for Street Rotting American Style is provided in part by BG Products Incorporated. BG Products Incorporated is dedicated to making vehicles last longer and perform better in the meantime. In shops all over the world, BG Products serves the driving public with innovative products and proven programs of automotive maintenance. More information can be found at bgfindashop.com.
A lot of times street rotters are trying to find that gem of a vehicle, either in the back of a garage, back of a barn, or back of a woods. And when they find it, they're hoping for that diamond in the rough. Unfortunately, that roughness can be in the pocketbook or in their time. Joining me today on Street Rotting Garage is Tim Devlin of Devlin Rotting Customs. Thanks, Tim, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
There's a question that hits a lot of people, and that is, how can I find that perfect street rod? How do you find it? What do you look for? How do you get going in that area?
Assuming that you've already established a budget for what you want to buy and you've already decided what the perfect vehicle is, then let's get your first overall impression of that vehicle. What does that vehicle look like? What is the overall condition of that vehicle? Because if you're going to be building this car from scratch, you want to make sure that just about every part that you're after is there, especially if it's an oddball vehicle. If it's something that's going to be hard to get in the aftermarket or just hard to find parts for, find the most complete vehicle that you can find and start with that. And if, depending on what your skill level is, if you're going to be building this car yourself or if you're going to have a professional shop, if you're going to be building this yourself and your skill level may not be quite so high, don't find a basket case, because the more work that's going to be involved in it, and if you're just not educated in it, don't go after that one. And also the same thing for a professional shop. You know, that vehicle that's so rough, it's going to cost you more time and more money, so you may want to find the best possible vehicle.
When working with the bodies, do you want to go with fiberglass or do you want to keep with the metal?
Well, once again, that becomes a personal taste. You know, a lot of guys, the purists will say steel is the best. There's nothing better than a steel body. You know, if a guy's going to be building a 32 Roadster or something like that, there's so many fiberglass bodies on the market today, and they're really pretty good. But if your preference is, you know what, I want to be able to pull up to a show and say I've got a steel car, then you should go after that. Know that it's probably going to cost you a little bit more money to get those steel pieces to begin with. But and the other side is, if you don't understand how to work fiberglass, it definitely is going to work differently than working a steel car.
Now, I remember when I was a kid, one of the first things we got to repair a car was Bondo. Do you kind of say, you know, don't use Bondo, or is Bondo given a bad name?
Bondo definitely has a bad name. I mean, Bondo was a product that's been around for a long time now, and the key to Bondo or body fillers is use in moderation. It's not designed to be used to build body lines, fill large crevices or anything. It's just not the way it's designed. What it is used to fill small imperfections in your body, sand it out, get that perfectly smooth, and then go over it with your primers and your paint. What we usually like to use as a rule of thumb is no more than 1/8 of an inch anywhere.
So Bondo is okay to use?
It's absolutely okay to use.
Just
no excess,
no
moderation.
Excess. All right. But now you got the Bondo on there, you've got the new sheet metal on there, but now you're going to paint it. Now, when I was growing up again, it was how many coats of paint can I put on there? Is that still the case? I mean, do people still brag about, I've got 10 coats of paint on this?
You know, I think people still try and brag about it, but it doesn't hold as true today as it did back then. What most of the time what guys were talking about when they were putting on as many coats as possible, you know, it was probably a lacquer or something, and they were going to end up rubbing a lot of it off to get that perfectly flat, perfectly smooth glass finish. And with today's modern paints, the base clear systems, where really 3 coats of base and maybe 3 coats of clear, wet sand it and buff it, and you're there. It's not designed to just keep building and building and building. What you're going to end up doing is just keep putting on chemicals and solvents on solvents, and you don't need to do that. They're not designed that way.
What you're saying is, when first looking for a car, make sure you're looking for something that's in your price range, what you want to do with it, is it going to do what you want to do, and is the body in the point where you can work on it yourself, or you're going to take and put it to somebody's hands and spend some money with it.
Absolutely. Put some thought into the whole process. You know, get your budget in place, make sure your expectations are going to be met with what that project is going to be, and make sure that the project itself isn't too far for what your experience level is. You know, if you plan on taking parts of it to a shop, then maybe that's okay, but if it's a complete basket case that you plan on building yourself, make sure that you can handle those pieces that you're going to work on.
And again, don't be afraid to ask for help.
No question, no question. At any stage of the game, don't be afraid to ask for help, because not everybody can do all this. You know, shops can't do every piece of the puzzle. You know, they've got to put together some other shops to help them out from time to time too.
Tim, thanks for your help today.
Thank you.
And if you're looking for that diamond in the rough, don't be afraid of it. Just be smart.